Board of Appeals to order. We will begin with the pledge to the flag. If everybody could please rise. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next up is a roll call of the board, please.
Bill Benko.
Here.
Todd Kraft.
Here.
Dan Rico.
Here.
Steve Sarman.
Here.
Jim Yule.
Here. Next up, we'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll approve it.
Are you motion to approve?
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor, voice vote. Aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Agenda is approved. Next item is the approval of the March 17th, 2026 meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. I'll second it.
Second, all in favor, voice vote. Aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. The March 17th, 2026 meeting minutes are approved. Next up is ZBA case 04-2026. Applicant Wyman Gordon, property address 7250 Whitmore Lake Road in Brighton, Michigan, 48116 for parcel ID 4716-08-100-015. Property size is 22.03 acres. Zoning district is limited industrial. The applicant is requesting a variance from section 38-136, schedule of area, height, and setback regulations, to allow a building height of 68 feet which exceeds the maximum height of 50 feet permitted in the limited industrial zoning district. We'll begin with the applicant's presentation of the case for a maximum of 10 minutes. If you could come up and have a seat, state your name, and present the case.
Sure. Thank you for your time. My name is Andrew Walters. I'm with Metro Consulting Associates. I'm the civil engineer for the project. With us also tonight is representatives from Wyman Gordon, representatives from Bryvar, the developer on the project, and representatives from Creekwood Architecture. So the project at 7250 Whitmore Lake has been operating as a foundry under various ownership over the past 50 plus years. Wyman Gordon is the current owner of the property. They are a part supplier for the aerospace industry. My understanding that they are, for several jet engines, they are the sole supplier for certain parts. Demand for their parts have grown. They're currently under construction for a 40,000 square foot expansion to their current operations. However, they have the need to expand their current operations, and for that they're proposing a roughly 60,000 square foot additional building on the north side of their property. In that, they need to duplicate some of the equipment that they have currently in use on the property. The equipment itself is so large that it is over 50 feet in height itself. So the building needed to house the equipment would obviously have to be over 50 feet. Wyman Gordon is requesting a variance to construct a portion of the building no greater than the 60-foot tall building that they currently have on the site. They're seeking this only for a portion of the building where this taller equipment will need to be located. Alternatives are limited to this site. The 50-foot maximum building height applies to all zoning districts, as I'm sure you're aware, in the township. So there is no other place that this could go within the township. The only other practical option available to them would be to sink the equipment below grade into a pit. However, this creates significant practical and safety challenges. For one, the existing soils on the site are very non-cohesive. It's been described as sugar sand. Digging deeply in this non-cohesive material, the deeper you go, the further your excavation sort of needs to extend out. Obviously, there are concerns about neighboring adjacent buildings. There are existing argon gas towers that are in the vicinity of the proposed project, as well as Wyman Gordon's existing facilities that are of concern. Additionally, placing this equipment below grade would provide significant environmental and physical safety concerns towards operating this equipment at below grade. Wyman Gordon could, the representatives Wyman Gordon could probably speak a little more to this, should you have additional questions about it, but obviously you're putting in a confined space, putting this equipment below grade would create a confined space situation, as well as a lot of the gases that they operate with are heavier than air. So this would provide safety hazards on a regular basis to both Wyman Gordon's employees as well as any outside responders for any emergencies. So the ordinance that we're requiring, seeking relief from, is not specific to the property or any particular zoning district. It has to do with the firefighting equipment that is available to the department. 50-foot height is the boundary that the township has set, and that's based on a level of confidence to be able to reach all areas on the top of like a roof. The developer and Wyman Gordon have spoken with the township and with the fire department, and it's my understanding that they feel confident that they could respond to any emergency on the existing building, which is 68 feet in height, and that if, assuming that any proposed building is no higher than, that they could continue to respond to any emergencies on the site. So the actual 50-foot is based on certain factors of safety. The actual upper limits of what the fire department could access would be potentially higher than that. Wyman Gordon also feels like they have like a good working relationship with the fire department. Again, they can speak more onto this, but it is my understanding that they have cooperated in the past with the fire department on training exercises specifically at this facility and the existing building, which it currently exceeds the 50-foot height. So, given the significant employee safety concerns with operating equipment below grade, given that the facility has operated safely for a very long time, and that the condition that the ordinance seeks to avoid already exists on the site, we believe that the requested variance is the best, safest, and most prudent option available to them. So we thank you for your time again, and we welcome any questions that you would have.
Thank you. Questions from the board for the applicant?
I'd like to hear some more regarding the safety features and what is planned, like you mentioned, the developer or the designer of this. I know there's a gas that's going to flow down, right?
Argon gas specifically, yeah. Excuse me.
Hi, Robert Pizzalia, Environmental Health and Safety Director for Wyman Gordon.
How do you mitigate the gas that falls down?
Well, there are safety systems that are built within the process equipment itself, but it's not just the gas, let's say, that's used in the process. It could be off-related gases. So you have combustion engine trucks in the facility, forklifts. That CO is going to lower down. You have things such as welding, cutting, and brazing that are taking place in the area. Any form of combustion is going to limit and displace oxygen. So anytime you have a confined space, which technically this pit would be, the definition of confined space is an area that's not designed for continuous human occupancy. In the past 25 years, there's been over 575 fatalities in the United States still in confined space, and that's just in general industry, and that doesn't account for the many very terrible instances that didn't lead to fatalities. So, we believe that by having anything underground level, you have limited means of entry and exit, which will then rely on either stairs, elevators, things of that nature to transfer people. Your first responders coming onto site are going to have a much more difficult time, even if it's unrelated to an atmospheric condition. Someone in a 20-foot deep pit has cardiac arrest or has a sugar episode or something of that nature, and they're there responding to an individual that is in ultimately a hole, is not ideal for the individual in that circumstance or for the first responders coming into a facility to try to accommodate. So on top of it, the atmospheric conditions, which are what's considered LEL, which is a lower explosion limit, hydrogen sulfide, which is naturally occurring, which they would refer to as H2S, your carbon monoxide and your oxygen. You then have those chemicals that can displace oxygen, things that are heavier than air that are going to go into that. But then you have your physical hazards and your entrapment hazards, and there's just a lot of things with confined spaces and areas below grade that significantly increase the risk. And what we do in environmental health and safety, and especially in an opportunity like we have here, we try to use a hierarchy of controls. That's what OSHA talks about. That's what my OSHA talks about all the time. And it's that process-related safety where you're trying to eliminate the hazard. If you can't eliminate, you're trying to substitute. If you can't substitute, you're trying to engineer. Lastly are things like administrative controls and PPE. And if we rely on administrative controls and personal protective equipment to protect our employees, we wouldn't be doing I wouldn't have a job, and we wouldn't be doing a very good job of protecting people. Got to eliminate the hazard, and in this case, eliminating the hazard is not having a confined space in which individuals have to operate in, that anything that falls into that pit could potentially harm them. All of the equipment that is being done, and the process flow of this is almost like a batch house. Things start up top and they end down bottom. So if the bottom is 20 feet in the earth, then you're going to need to crane and rig things up overhead to get it out of the pit, then to an area where it goes on to the next processor to ship. So it's just inherently dangerous to have things underground. I hope that answered some of the questions.
Yeah, so again, the ordinance standard that we're seeking relief from has to do with fire and safety. Not granting the variance wouldn't, because there's an existing nonconformity on the site, not granting the variance wouldn't eliminate that potential on the site. It exists currently. However, not granting the variance would create additional hazards on the site that don't currently exist here today.
You said you're building airplane parts. Is that military or?
Some are military, some are commercial.
Yeah, I don't think it's too far of a stretch to say that this is somewhat of a matter of national security.
Gentlemen.
This machinery that's going in, is it a press or something, or was it?
It's a forge or a foundry, right?
No, sir. It's an atomization process. It's making, yeah.
So I just, it's not, the building is going to accommodate this, if you get the variance, accommodate the height, right? Is that the idea?
Debbie's got one.
If anyone else wants. So if you'd like, I can explain our process a little bit. I don't know if you just, okay. So basically, we take raw material. Our raw material is nickel-based superalloys. Those get melted into ingot at other shops, and then we buy that ingot and we put it in these atomization furnaces, and we melt it down we melt it, and then we blast it with high-pressure argon. Most of that argon we collect and reuse. The goal is all of it. That doesn't always quite happen, but we try to collect all the argon and reuse it. But what that does is it turns that metal ingot into very small droplets, very small powdered metal is really the industry that we're in. Same kind of thing that you would look at like when you do the additive market where you have powdered metal and then you 3D print it. In our case, we consolidate that powder into large cans and then we extrude it into billet. So our billet is, ranges around 10 inches in diameter, 20 feet long sticks that we then cut up in those into sections, and those sections get forged at a different facility. So what we're doing here in Brighton is turning that raw ingot into a powdered metal and then consolidating that powder into a billet form that gets forged at other places.
You do the actual forming here, you're just getting the, right, okay.
Correct. No forging at the site
You send
here.
it to another Wyman?
That's correct.
Division, okay.
And this statement about the ordinance being fire-related, is that, I don't know, is that stated in the ordinances, or is that just a commonly known thing that I'm not familiar with? The 50-foot,
The 50-foot, so we had a pre-application meeting and the fire marshal was present, and the 50-foot, so the 68 feet our trucks would accommodate to fight a fire. So,
but as far as the ordinance being established, is that
I don't know about an ordinance of what,
just being fire-related?
right.
Again, it's not spelled out in the ordinance, but it is our understanding that it is based on the fire equipment that is available to the township. The fire department also said that they have no plans to purchase equipment that's taller.
But they said they
We
could
just
like,
spent over $1 million for a new ladder truck, so I don't think we'd want to do that.
So the situation kind of is what it is. And again, that 50-foot maximum height applies to all zoning districts within the township.
other questions?
What kind of accommodation are you making for the extended height as far as fire department safety? I mean, is there something, people internally trained to handle this, or what?
So we've worked, over the years, we've worked a lot with the fire department. We've done rappelling training, we've done confined space training with the fire department. I don't know if has been anything recently, but I know we've had multiple, times where they would bring people over to our facility and use our building as a training exercise for those types of things. And so we're definitely willing to open it up for the fire department for, additional training classes and stuff like that. They haven't requested anything, from us for our existing building. So from when we talked to the fire marshal during our pre-construction meeting, they indicated that they can deal with the existing 68 feet tall building and didn't make any requests that we do anything special to improve that.
I don't have any further questions. Seeing none, I guess we'll move on to the open public hearing. Get a maximum of 3 minutes to an individual or 5 minutes to any group representatives. If you wish to speak, please approach the podium. State your name and chair.
Hello, my name is Pat O'Leary. We live in the subdivision in Sotheby Square, right behind, just what would be west of the building. I just had a quick question. The height of the building, so we know there was the existing building, and then there was the addition that was put on south of the building. What's the height of that?
50 feet.
It's 50 feet? It is. It's not higher.
It slopes from 40.
It's actually 49,
So,
49.7, 49.8. So the
Okay.
existing facility is below that.
So you're
50
asking
foot.
to go higher than what you just
They
added
want-
on
they're-
to?
What they're asking to is to go the same
18
height
feet
as
higher.
the tower that's already there on the north end.
North side, okay. All right.
And again, it wouldn't be for the entire building that they're proposing. It's just only for the portion that they need it.
Yeah, okay.
Basically a second
All right.
tower.
So we are the neighbors that live just, like I say, just to the west of you. And, we haven't really had any issues in the past, other than loud music on the second shift, on the night shift. And I don't know, it just appears that it's an operator turning his radio too loud. We hear it. We can almost tell the song that he's playing. So we would love to be able to address that if possible. But as far as going higher, you know, the addition you guys just put on, it blocks the sun for us. And I feel like, you know, that 50-foot regulation was put there for a reason. And I know you guys own the land and you guys can do what you want, and you guys have, sounds like already approved it. But some of the issues that we have as neighbors is, you know, there are lights on the building that shine right into our bedroom windows. So when we, at night, when we look outside, there's a light even with us on our second floor. We would love it if you could somehow block that so that it only shines down and not shines toward us. That's one. The music's another one. I would love to walk out of here and have a phone number that we could call when we hear it loud. We would love if you had earbuds as opposed to loud music. We can hear all that. We can hear some press, something going on, and it's we feel it and we hear it. So we would love if you could somehow dampen that or do something. It sounds like this is going to get approved based on the fact that it's a fire issue. It's very ugly as it is. You know, we all moved to Green Oak Township because it's small, it's rural, and peaceful. It's not as much so now because of you guys. I work for Ford. You know, we drive past Gary, Indiana. It's ugly. I'm not saying block this, prevent it from happening, but at some point, these regulations were put here for a reason, to protect us. And we moved in because it was rural and it's Green Oak and it's small, and you know, small town. Is there anything you can do to still get what you guys want and compensate us? I don't know what that compensation is. When we go to sell our houses, we're not going to get as much money because we've got a factory in our backyard, an excessively tall factory that broke regulations that you guys or your predecessors put in place. So how can we be compensated? Do we each get $100,000 so that we don't have to, you know, take this hit? Can we plant pine trees or something to prevent or insulate us from you guys? Can we
Sorry, sir.
build a fence?
Passed.
Those are just some ideas.
To answer
Thank
one
you for your
question
time.
about the trees as a part of the expansion we're doing right now.
Yeah.
They're not planted yet. They will be here very soon. But we probably added 30 or 40 trees on that side. So that there's going to be additional screening along
They're
that
there
west
now, or
side.
they will be?
They will be.
Okay.
Yeah, probably within the next.
Pine trees, hopefully, so in the winter we still have the
there's a vari-
same?
Yeah, there's a variation.
All right.
Basically to screen that, but there's a significant amount of trees that's going on that west elevation.
It would be helpful if it were a row or two and, you know, not deciduous trees. We don't want it to lose their leaves in the winter. We would see it. It would help all of us and protect our neighbors who aren't here. Anyway, thank you.
And I would also point out that, you know, this is a variance request. This project will still have to go through site plan approval process in addition to. So any issues, you know, involving specific requirements of the zoning ordinance will be addressed then.
That'll be through the planning commission.
Through the planning commission, right.
Okay. All right.
This is only one step in a project, right?
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Mike Pipp. I live next door to Mr. O'Leary. And again, this facility is in our backyard, more or less. And again, when we all moved there, this latest addition was not there. It was added. It's not exactly a pastoral site. This is a residential area, and we're looking out at an industrial complex. It's also construction noise at times. So now they want to add to it. I get there's going to be trees there, but that's still going to be omnipresent. So I would ask anybody in here, including the gentleman behind me, would you want this in your backyard? And to Mr. O'Leary's point, it's going to impact us. We're going to take a hit on our property values. Are we going to be compensated with that, or do we have to consult a lawyer and look at a class action lawsuit? So that's what we want. This is impacting our livelihood and our lives. So I want to get that across to the board as well. Thank you.
Other members of the public who wish to speak?
Actually, I do. My name is Monica Pipp, and I'm concerned about the argon that you guys are talking about. because we all know that that's a health risk. How is that captured so that that's not an additional risk for us? You talk about the safety of it could blow up. I mean, that would impact us for sure. So I'd like that explained a little bit more, because I guess I just don't understand from the safety standpoint what that would impact where you're located close to US 23 and us right behind you, if there was some significant explosion or something from that.
Sure, I can answer. Argon is a naturally occurring gas that's in our environment. It's at very low concentrations. It's an inert gas, so there's no chance, it's non-reactive, so it can't blow up, it can't catch fire. It's just non-reactive. The main drawback from a health perspective is it's heavier than air, then it can displace oxygen. But it is a naturally occurring gas that will dissipate in the atmosphere. And when you're outside, it's not a risk to inhalation.
But you were talking about the danger of that gas in that underground type facility.
Yes, in a confined space, if there was a pit and that gas were allowed to accumulate in that pit, it could cause asphyxiation where you could suffocate if it's accumulating in the pit. Now, there's lots of safety, there's potentially measures that could help reduce that risk, but nothing that could be foolproof.
Okay, and you were saying that you're gathering that, collecting that argon to make these particles? Or
No, the argon is already utilized at the facility.
Yeah, we do collect it, and then that's what those tanks are that you see. We store argon in those tanks. We use it for our process, and then we put it back in the tanks.
We reuse it.
Okay.
And everything that they're proposing to do with this proposed building is operations that are currently going on the site.
Right.
So there's nothing new is happening.
Correct.
Hi, I'm Shelley Fetzer, live there too. Just a couple things. Every Sunday night, there's like some kind of semi or something that it's really loud and it's for hours, and it's very annoying. Also in the summer, when the weather's nice, we like our windows open. The lights are in, they're shining in the houses, and you can't sleep. It's just so loud back there. It's just going to be worse with this. So I don't know. I just would like a little bit of consideration for all of us.
Thank you. Any further comments? Right, we will close the public hearing then, and applicant gets 2 additional minutes to rebut. Comments or rebuttals?
I think unless if there's anything else you want to respond.
Well, I think in general, I'd like a little bit of time to address some of those concerns. I don't think we're in a position to do that right now. I think in general, we're largely unaware of some of the problems that you guys are dealing with. The music, that's totally understandable. The lights, we could probably come up with ways to direct those so that they're not in your windows. So we would like a chance to address that, and we can get a contact sent out so we can work on that together.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be much appreciated.
That's a great idea.
And we love the tree idea too. Honestly, that, down the road, it's gonna be pretty to see a line of trees as opposed to a building.
Any other comments? Any other comments or questions before we?
I like the cooperation.
Yeah.
I think communication could greatly be improved.
Sounds like we got some good
The
opportunities.
the planning commission, a lot of this isn't our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
I don't mean to,
Right, exactly.
but it's not our jurisdiction, but they need to communicate and it needs to be brought to the planning commission.
Right.
That said, the next step is a decision by the ZBA.
I move to approve ZBA-04-2026, property ID 4716-08-100-015, property address 7250 Whitmore Lake Road, Brighton, Michigan 48116, to allow a building height of 68 feet. Doing so greatly reduces the risk to employees and others that would be caused by an underground enclosed space. The granting of the variance does not adversely affect the purpose or objectives of the township master plan.
I'll second that motion.
Can we do a roll call vote, please?
Dan Rico,
Yes.
Jim Mule,
Yes.
Bill Bucko,
Yeah.
Todd Kress,
Yes.
Stephen Sauer.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. You have your variance. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there any new business before the board?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Is there any new business?
No.
Old business?
Nope.
Correspondence?
Nope, but we do have 2 ZBA cases next month. I started working on the packet today. The notices will be sent out, so we have 2 cases that we will be seeing.
Okay.
Other than that, nothing else.
Okay, thank you. One final call to the public. If there are additional comments from the public, you may approach the podium at this time. Seeing no further comments from the public, we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.